Okay, now I'm going to do the filling for the quiche. And I've been doing a whole bunch of other stuff. I tend to get distracted in the kitchen because I do a whole lot of different things that makes it easier for me to have things prepared for long term, like over the next week. So one of the things that I just did, I'm going to have over the next week a dish that tastes kind of like chicken. It is actually marinated portobello mushrooms, and since I'm dealing with a very small refrigerator that I can't store a lot of things in, it's necessary for me to, when I buy food fresh, I have to prep it right away and then put it in some kind of state where it can be stored in, rather than when you have a big fridge and you can just stuff things in the fridge. However, this is causing me to save some money because since I can't save stuff and stick it in the back of the fridge, I tend to prepare it as soon as I get it, and so I'm not spending as much money and throwing away as much food. But I prepared some mushrooms, portobello mushrooms, large ones. I bought, this is why raw food is not expensive. I bought a large tray that had four portobellos that were like this size, okay? Now, I'm doing an experiment. I have used portobellos as a bun before, and they are yummy, but they don't quite have the bread consistency, so I cut one in half, and I put it in the dehydrator. We're going to see if that tastes more like bread once it's dehydrated a little bit. But what I did with the rest of the portobellos, one of them has been cut up so that it is in strips, and it is being marinated with poultry seasoning, a little tiny bit of olive oil, and some shoyu. And that will be a chicken-like dish. And then the other one is being used to go in the quiche. So those were the kind of prep things that I was doing while the video was off, because it's kind of boring to watch somebody brush off a mushroom and slice it up. So I just like, okay, I'll tell you about that. this whole cooking on video thing, prepping food on video, is kind of weird to me because I think that it's kind of boring to watch, although I love watching other people do it. So I'm doing it. You guys tell me what you think. If you don't like it, let me know. A lot of people seem to want to have a visual of what it looks like to do this stuff. So I'm going to put the camera down on the food prep surface so that you can see what I'm doing, but that's the method to the madness that is me. Okay, so there we are on the food prep surface, and in the food processor, this little food processor is wonders. So in here we have a yellow squash. Actually, we have about 3/4 of a yellow squash. We have a little bit of salt, because salt is wonderful stuff. I do not use as many nuts as is normally called for, so this is all the nuts that I'm putting in here. This is going to be for 2 pie-sized quiche, and it probably will have some left over. So I don't use a whole lot of nuts, and I don't think it's necessary to use a lot of nuts. I think that using too many nuts, it just makes your food overly rich, and it makes it so that you have a whole lot of fat and not a whole lot of flavor. And I'm all about the flavor. So I'm putting a little bit of shoyu in here in place of the white miso. It actually calls for white miso, and I tried white miso before, didn't like it, so not doing it this time. We are using onion, and I thought I had an onion already cut, but I'm not seeing it. maybe we don't have one. This tiny fridge. How can you leave stuff in a fridge that's the size of a thimble? I tell ya. Okay. We are going to, no onion in there. We are going to get some onion. And you know, there's a whole thing about onion that's just like the garlic, and that is that you don't want to use that inside part because it makes it hard to deal with. So we cut that part out. And I don't consider it wasteful. It's going to go in the compost, and so the little bug people will eat it, and everybody wins. So we've got onion, we've got a handful of cashews, we've got a touch of shoyu. We are going to put lemon juice. Have I lost my lemon? I had a lemon. I did. Here it is. So we're putting the juice of a half a lemon. And you can do this however you want. I usually cut the lemon in half and then just kind of brush the seeds out and squeeze it. Some people do it differently. I personally think the seeds are good for you. And I will put this in my juice in the morning. I don't throw away very much of anything. And the peel of the lemon makes the juice stay fresh. And that's what we want. We want our juice to stay fresh. And we're going to put some nutritional yeast. Just a touch. Again, I don't measure a whole lot of stuff, but this is going to give it that cheesy taste. And we want the cheesy taste. And the only thing that we are not putting in here at the moment is our green onions and our basil and our tomatoes. We're not putting those things in here. This is kind of the base, you know, it's the it is the egg. This is the egg part. Now, I use a tremendous amount of coconut water. I like coconut water. It's good for you. It's got high alkaline, and that's good for you. Now, for all intents and purposes, this tastes a lot like egg. I'll tell you what's missing. It's not quite salty enough, and that's because we did not use the miso, because we don't have any miso, so we don't have the saltiness. So we're going to need to put a little bit more salt in it. In order to get that salty taste. we're going to need to put a little bit more vergès to get it to be a little bit cheesier. Now remember, we're also going to put the white chia seeds with the turmeric. So that's going to get it more yellow for us. Okay. That's our eggy mixture. Now we're going to add to this frozen spinach that we're going to fold in. We're not going to put it in the food processor. As a matter of fact, the food processor is finished. We've done everything we're going to do with the food processor. Everything else gets folded in. So what we're folding in is spinach, a tiny bit of olive oil, and a little bit more salt. And we're going to, just fold those things in, kind of pulse them in. And then the last thing that gets folded in, not blended in, but folded in, is 2 green onions. So we're going to cut up 2 of these guys. And just so you know, you don't have to keep them in the fridge, okay? You can keep them outside of the fridge for several days and they will be fine. You just pull off the outside and they're still good to go. So we're going to use 2 of these cut up and a couple of leaves, a few leaves of basil. And we're going to fold that in and then mix the whole thing. And the last thing that we put in is the chia seeds that have been powdered with the turmeric and the powdered turmeric and chia seeds, because that's going to start to set up, and it will set up and make it like egg, and that's what we want it to be. So I'm going to turn this off. I'll come back and show you the completed pie, which I will show you a picture of. But in essence, that's how you make quiche. And it tastes like quiche. It looks like quiche. It does not have egg in it. It does not, it's cruelty-free. It doesn't have milk or cheese or any of the stuff that a lot of people are allergic to. And it's raw and vegan. And as I said before, I use a lot less nuts so you don't have that heavy, oily nuttiness as well. It just tastes like quiche. And we're having it tomorrow with salad. And you can also, eat it with soup and salad. And on the following day, I probably will have it with asparagus, cream of asparagus soup. But tomorrow it will be spinach soup and salad. Thank you for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed watching this, and I hope you've learned something. I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'll get better at these. But for now, it's a whole new world for me to be making food with a video running that I'm actually going to show to anybody. So thank you for joining me. Have a fabulous evening, and I will see you very soon. In the meantime, remember, healthy eating makes you strong. Aloha.